Wednesday evening. Thanks for joining us tonight on Unscripted. Greeting right into some areas today with some school closings because of some snow that we saw earlier in the day in some portions of the viewing area. Joe, not every area really saw this weather, but some areas were hit a little bit harder with the weather.
Yeah, a little messy this morning in some spots for sure. The good thing is that we're not dealing with what we had last night in some sort of that freezing drizzle is gone. But tonight now it's just lake effect snow is kicking in. So it is going to be a little colder tonight, some snow showers in some spots. And Melissa, you know this, with lake effect snow, some spots are going to get a lot, other areas are not going to get hardly any at all. We'll kind of do our best to kind of hone in on those areas and look at what may be a cooler weekend, but then a little bit of a warm up after that. So we'll take a look at all that a little later.
All right. Thanks, Joe. Data centers and the development of them, they've become being a popular talking point in Michigan. In 2024, state lawmakers passed legislation that would give tax breaks to large centers. But some scientists say they believe Michigan is being targeted for environmental reasons. Our Ellie Baxter dug into this, and she has more.
We can expect more, especially coming up this far north in the future.
Dr. Mitch Diston is a biologist and ecologist. He's researched and studied data centers and the environmental resources they use, and how that makes Michigan a coveted spot.
This is a developer's dream where we're at right now, mostly because of the colder climates and the abundance of fresh water here, especially in northern Michigan.
That's what caught the eye of a geologist in a recent pitch to Kalkaska County to build a data center on public land owned by the DNR. The proposal got significant pushback, despite a push for the center to operate on a closed-loop system, which is touted as being more environmentally friendly.
They still draw in about 1.5 million gallons a day. So you still need a whole heck of a lot of water to power these things, even if it's the more ecologically sensitive one.
And if you're not using water to cool down, Mitch says you're using more energy to cool the entire system. But northern Michigan doesn't have the massive power plants like the southern side of the state to rely on using more energy.
Up here, they would basically have to build completely new plants to power these things. So they can be done in a place like Kalkaska, where it does already have oil reserves.
Which is why Mitch suspects the desire for a center in Kalkaska hasn't gone away. More like back to the drawing board.
That is the typical process of these things, is when they're not processed on state land, they do go to private lands.
But wouldn't a developer still need township approval to build on private land? Mitch says not necessarily if you live in an area with no zoning rules. He lives in Banks Township, which is in the spotlight right now, as residents debate whether to get rid of zoning.
They are the most sensitive to these things. They basically don't have to go through all the local channels to get these approved.
Last week, Governor Gretchen Whitmer submitted a public comment in support of a data center project downstate, saying other states are competing against Michigan to land these projects, but with less oversight.
Obviously, the entire internet is built off of these data centers, sporadically placed throughout the United States. I think here in Michigan, the opinion that most people have been having is that we have an obligation to our future generations to protect our water, because 23% of the fresh water is here. So this is not the best place.
That was Ellie Baxter reporting. Mitch tells us that there is a protest against data centers planned for next Tuesday in Lansing. It says it has bipartisan support, and state lawmakers on both sides of the aisle are expected to show up. Well, the Federal Reserve is moving to lower interest rates by a quarter point today. This after 2 days of meetings. Now, that means lower costs for people taking out loans. And the move comes as the economy grapples with continued inflation woes and a weak job growth. Inflation has remained stubborn amid widespread tariffs from the Trump administration, with levels still higher than the Fed's 2% target. This month's Fed meeting will be Chairman Jerome Powell's last before a successor is named. Powell's term doesn't end until May, but President Trump said he's planning to name a new chair early next year. All right, well, switching gears, we're taking a look at our question of the day. That, of course, is the Federal Reserve lowering the interest rates. And that was made earlier today, that decision. We want to know, with interest rates lowering, do you plan on maybe refinancing? That might include refinancing a home, your car, or a personal loan. Let us know. Check out our Facebook fan page, UpNorthLive, and our website. You can scan the QR code right there on your screen. We will check out those responses coming up a little bit later in the show. A bill being considered in the State House could mean tighter controls for kids when it comes to social media. Statewide political reporter Remington Hernandez spoke to the lawmaker behind that bill, who says it all comes down to contract law.
Minors can't legally agree to contracts, and that means those terms of use policies we all agreed to when we sign up online have some loopholes. A new bill, though, aims to close those. Look at any teen nowadays, and they've probably got their head buried in their phone, watching TikTok, sending snaps, and posting on Instagram. Right now, they can easily make social media profiles by themselves, but new legislation aims to give greater controls to parents by requiring platforms to obtain their permission and provide tools for oversight and control.
Imagine your city park put up a huge fenced-off area that you can't see through, but we only allow teens and tweens in there, no parents. You wouldn't allow your child to go in. That's the kind of blind access that kids are given on social media.
Rochester Republican State Representative Mark Tisdale introduced the bill and says social media use has been associated with psychological problems in children, particularly among girls. He wants parental intervention before any harm is done.
If I'm going to be financially responsible, emotionally and psychologically responsible to pick up my child's pieces on the back end, I want to have some authority on the front end and know what's going on.
Opponents of the legislation fear a chilling effect on kids' freedom.
All of these things, while they may have mechanisms that vary platform to platform to get around them, they provide an additional barrier and obstacle to getting online that may end in the child just not having access to important creative expression outlets, important ways to connect, important ways to find even life-saving resources.
Tisdale denies that he wants to restrict access and instead wants supervision.
This is a big and possibly scary world out there that teens and tweens in particular need guidance in navigating.
Still, opponents are not convinced the bill will make an impact and are worried about the security of the personal data obtained by platforms to verify permission, noting there have already been breaches.
I'm not trying to argue that there aren't dangers that are online. I just think that requiring us to submit more of our sensitive data to the very platforms that we're worried about causing these harms is not the answer.
Tisdale's bill is still in committee, but he's confident that his colleagues will look at the science surrounding kids and social media. At the Capitol in Lansing, I'm Remington Hernandez reporting.
And Remington, who you just saw there, is actually joining us live tonight. He's a familiar face you probably recognize with a very familiar voice as well. Remington is UpNorthLive's political reporter, so he is primarily in Lansing. Remington, thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure to join you, Melissa. It's good to be back on the air back here in northern Michigan.
It's fantastic to have you. I have to say welcome too. You came onto the team. I would say was it November 10th was your first day?
Yep, that was it.
Yes. Okay. Well, before we get into the social media story and the report that we just saw, I want to ask you, where is home for you? Just to give the viewers an idea, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I originally am from a small town in Texas, Santa Ana, Texas, in the direct center. It's not near any big cities. People always ask, where's the nearest big city? Yeah. It's not near a big city. About 8-9 years ago, I moved to Cadillac. And I worked in Cadillac and TV there for about 8 years. And ultimately came back to TV after about a year of hiatus.
And now you are primarily in Lansing. We see you pretty much every day. You have a report for us and really focusing on politics.
Yes. Politics. Ever since I was working in Cadillac, working in the interim before I joined this job, I was focused on politics, getting to know the ins and outs of the state legislature and the issues that really impact all Michiganders, and it really makes me happy to be able to tell the stories and get the information to our viewers.
And speaking about you being our political reporter, I wanted to talk about the social media report that we're looking at when it comes to really censoring kids and specifically certain age groups. How would this all work if this were to come to fruition?
So, and you saw my report there, Mark Tisdale, he's from Rochester, he's a Republican. What he said is he doesn't really want to restrict anything. He wants to put it in parents' hands. So essentially, the bill, if it were made law, would require social media companies to confirm that the parents gave permission to the kids under the age of 18 to be able to use the social media platform. And the social media platforms would be penalized per each case if they didn't.
So this is focused more on giving the parents that control over what their kids are looking at when it comes to social media.
Yeah, so yeah, the provisions include, the parents have to be confirmed, and they also get tools in order to monitor the different aspects of their child's access on these platforms, whether it be posts, messages, or anything that they do. The bill would require them in the platforms to provide those to parents.
And we saw too in your report that some people opposed to it are saying that it's too much of a restriction when it comes to the freedom of what students and kids are able to view on social media.
Yeah, right now, kids can, 13 and up for most platforms, they can get on and do whatever they want within reason without their parent even knowing. And what the opponents argue is that even if the parents agree, this would be an undue hindrance because of a variety of factors, whether it be, they may share the same device and it has to be verified in many different ways that is hard to do. Ultimately, some kids, just might have a hard time getting a parent to say yes. So they feel that it is a barrier to these different things where kids can keep connected, or they can, express themselves, or just to check what's happening.
And Remington, what are the next steps with this bill? Where does this head now?
Well, it's in committee right now, as I said in my report, and the lawmakers are just going to keep reviewing it. I mean, there'll be more testimony on it. You'll hear both sides from both proponents of the bill and those who are against it, like the person I spoke to there, and it's going to get an eventual floor vote, and we'll see where it goes. Mark Tisdale had a cell phone bill, if you remember that, a bill to ban cell phones in the classroom. That failed. So we'll see where this ends up in the legislature.
All right. Remington, thank you. Remington Hernandez, our Up North Live's political reporter, welcoming him, and you will continue to see him as a familiar face and voice here on Up North Live. If you'd like more information, though, about Remington's report, you can check out our website, upnorthlive.com. Well, Great Start Collaborative and Family Coalition in Charlevoix, Emmett, and Northern Antrim counties is officially HOPE certified. The main framework behind being HOPE certified, is fostering safe and healthy relationships throughout your community. Officials say that includes somewhere to grow, to learn, and play freely, having someone or somewhere to properly express your emotions, and having varying support systems.
HOPE is based on new science surrounding positive childhood experiences, which really says that there are 4 building blocks that we can build in youth experiences, that regardless of the hardship we face, we're better off in long term.
The Great Start collaboration goal is to create as many opportunities for families and the youth in the area to have positive memories even during tough times. Cool says that it can be as simple as playing games, access to books, or connecting with community mentors. All right, stay right here. Joe Charlevoix takes a look at some potential lake effect snow moving in. We'll see if your community could be one of those areas. We'll be right back.
I'm Jada Johnson from Big Boys TV, and the Fish and Game Report is sponsored by Johnson's Propane.
Welcome back to Unscripted on this Wednesday evening, taking a look at weather. Chief Meteorologist Joe Charleboy joins us now. Joe, quiet out there for some areas, but there could be some changes moving in.
Yeah, that's right. We once again some lake effect snow, which we'll probably be telling you about through January, February, March,
probably.
too, maybe April. But some of that coming in. Let's take a look, Melissa. There are three big things. We have periods of lake effect snow tonight into Thursday in some spots. And then also over the weekend, a little bit of a break Friday. And part of that is because we have a chilly weekend on tap that'll ignite the lake effect snow, teens to mid-20s. And then later next week, a brief warm-up, some 30s and 40s perhaps, with some rain showers in the forecast. Here's a look right now, downtown Gaylord, 18 degrees. Had a few snowflakes working through here. Gaylord is under a winter weather advisory. You can see the roads are in pretty good shape currently, though. And it's for all these counties. Chippewa, well, I'll name them. Charlevoix, Antrim, Grand Traverse, Otsego, Crawford, Kalkaska, Missaukee, and Roscommon counties. And then we mentioned Chippewa and the UP. Winter weather advisories until 4 o'clock tomorrow. Lake effect snow locally 2 to 8 inches. That 8-inch, 6, 7, 8-inch will be in a very narrow area. And we'll show you that here momentarily. There goes our area of low pressure near Toronto tonight. That's what passed through our area this morning. Messy roads early on. And now we have that cold air behind that. And so there goes the system. You can see around Cleveland, Buffalo, Ottawa, snow. And then here's the lake effect snow right there. Light right now, although it's starting to pick up a little bit of steam here. We're starting to see a few bands of snow. If you look at the darker shades of purple there to the northeast of Cadillac, west or east of Traverse City, and then around Grayling, that's some of the bands of snow. And then another pretty big one here, just brushing Whitefish Point. See all that purple coming in there? And especially they're just to the west now of Brimley Bay Mills. So Chippewa County looks like a pretty good dumping coming in for you here west of the Sioux in the next few hours. So here's what happens tonight. Lake effect snow, there it is, through tomorrow morning. And then as time goes on, we'll get a little break. This will kind of wane somewhat tomorrow night. And then Friday, not a lot of snow. And if we do see much, it'll be mainly near the lakeshore areas Friday. There's the snow tonight. And again, very, very localized in the additional snow tomorrow. And Bel Air, Grayling, Kalkaska, Houghton Lake, Newberry, over toward and west of Bay Mills, Brimley, seeing the bulk of the heavy lake effect snow. Sheboygan, an inch. Traverse City, maybe 2. So again, you can see those bands where they set up. Now let's go to Friday night. A clipper comes in, lake effect snow behind that Saturday into Sunday. And then next week, a little warm up, perhaps touch of snow Monday, and then a warmer stretch, and maybe some rain late next week with temperatures back in the 30s and 40s. If you're wondering how long that's going to last, I don't think very long. I think we're going to get some snow as we get into next weekend, but for a couple days at least, a little bit of a thaw next week. Tonight, 10 to 24, lake effect snow kicks in, localized bands of snow. We just took a look. And then tomorrow, on Thursday, scattered morning lake effect snow, temperatures in the low and mid-20s. Petoskey, 27. Scattered morning lake effect snow here. Empire, Frankfort, Benzonia, 29. And at Roscommon, Houghton Lake, 26. Scattered lake effect snow. All right, here's our extended forecast. There it is, snow showers. Saturday, it's before Christmas. Maybe people out shopping, traveling. Just know there could be some heavier pockets of lake effect snow to start the weekend. Sunday too. Monday, a little snow. And then look at next Wednesday. Yeah, 30s and 40s, Melissa. So there's the beginning of that warm up.
Yeah, a little bit there. All right. Thanks, Joe. Well, Sports Director Harrison Beebe will join us with the latest on the firing of the University of Michigan Wolverines head coach. All of that coming up in sports next. Welcome back to Unscripted. Sports director Harrison Beebe is out covering high school basketball, but we are learning more on the firing of the University of Michigan Wolverines head coach. Harrison joins us live. Hey, Harrison.
Yeah, Melissa, a simple afternoon where I thought a couple of basketball games are going to be on my docket has now turned into the probably the biggest sports story going on in the nation right now. Sharon Moore now out at the University of Michigan after just 2 seasons as head coach of the Wolverines. And the shocking part is what is being linked to the reason for this firing. The university states they have cause because of an inappropriate relationship that Moore has had with a staffer with the Michigan football program. So, this comes a few years after Mel Tucker was fired from the Michigan State Spartans for similar inappropriate acts, not with a staffer, but with someone that had associations with the program for speaking events and volunteer events. This is now Sharon Moore being involved in a situation where he's linked in an inappropriate relationship with someone working with the football program, or at least associated with the football program. That has now given the university zero reason to keep him, and also for cause implies that he will no longer need to be paid out. A lot of times in this day and age, coaches have such expensive contracts that they're paid out even when they're fired. For example, Jonathan Smith at Michigan State is still going to be paid some money even though he was recently let go. Sharon Moore will not be getting any more money based for future seasons based on this cause of the firing from the university. So terrible timing for them just entering the off season, but a lot of popular head coaching candidates are already picked up by other universities, including Pat Fitzgerald by Michigan State last week. Michigan is prepping for a bowl game that they're going to be taking on Texas in a signature matchup on New Year's Eve. So that has already been started as far as practices and preparation. So a strange part to transition to a new head coach. Biff Poggi is an assistant on the program. He will now be taking over as an interim head coach going into that bowl game with Texas. But yeah, the major news, Michigan, after just 2 years, severing ties with Sharon Moore after inappropriate relationship with a staffer at the University of Michigan football team. So a crazy breaking news story to follow here in early December as the college football season wraps up. But we'll bring you more information as we get it and try and get you more details tonight at 11 when we recap it more in sports.
All right, thanks for that update, Harrison. And just like Harrison said, he will have more information coming up tonight on Up North Live News at 11. Also coming up, we're going to take a look at some of the results of our question of the day coming up right after the break.
Salon services are furnished by Epiphany Advanced Academy in East Acme.
Welcome back to Unscripted. Taking a look at that question of the day with the federal government lowering interest rates. Do you plan on refinancing? Right now, you can see a whopping 86% saying no. Some of the responses, Helen says, nope, I bought my house when interest rates were still low at the best possible time before they began to rise. I am good. Bill saying, no, I have no plans on financing my home nor refinancing my vehicle. Michael saying, nope, I bought in cash. I only like having to not worry about taxes technically. You can still answer that question. Check out our Facebook fan page, Up North Live, and of course, our website, UpNorthLive.com. Let us know. We would, of course, love to hear from you. And have a fantastic rest of your evening. We hope to see you back here for Up North Live News at 11.